Hello, my name is Camilo Condis. I'm from Cuba, and I want to talk to you about my work in Cuba. My organization, Artecorte, is a local development non-profit organization that is located in a small neighborhood in Old Havana, in Havana, Cuba, and I want to talk to you about the work we're doing there. I want to show you how we got to transform a space like this in our community that was completely almost abandoned. There was precarious conditions over there, and we got to transform it into a tourist place and a place that is the base of a non-profit organization that is working with all the generations inside our neighborhood. So, to understand better about our situation, we need to get some facts about Cuba first. In 1959, Fidel Castro got into power through a small revolution. It was really brief. In less than 3 years, he got into power, and he changed everything that we had in the country. From 1961 to 1964, he started closing down all of the private business in the country. They call him the revolutionary offensive, and they started transforming the country from capitalism to a socialist country. So they changed completely the concept of property. Why they changed it? Because now people, either they had a house, for example, they couldn't buy it, they couldn't sell it, they couldn't rent it. You own the house only to live in it and to live there with your family. So it was your on the paper, but it was not your to dispose of it at your will. At the same time, the concept of accounting completely changed, as all of the companies were now government companies, and their interest was to give benefits to the state, not to shareholders. So all of the accounting was not interested into making more profit, but only to be enough to pay salaries to the workers. So the private sector and private business were killed off in the country. There was no more of this. But then, 1991, the Soviet Union fell apart. I guess we all know about this. So the main income we had that came from communist countries disappeared. So we had a big crisis, a big economic crisis that the Cuban government decided to call as a special period. It was a period where everything was really hard. There was no public transportation, there was no private transportation. There was big power outage. I mean, like when I was a kid, I could have like 6 hours a day of electricity in my house. Some days we can get even less. So it was really hard on us. So in the late 90s, the government decided that they had to change this because there was no way to keep moving forward. So they decided they were going to create new rules. So they created the cuenta propistas. Cuenta propistas are small business owners. They call it cuenta propistas. This is a word that means on your own. As I said, in the special period part, the government doesn't, the Cuban government usually change the words. They don't use the concept, and they still don't recognize the concept of private enterprise in Cuba. So they call us cuenta propistas. I'm a small business owner in Cuba. I'm a cuenta propista. And they started issuing several personal service licenses in the country. But still we had some rules where you couldn't rent or you couldn't buy a house. So you had to do your business inside your own house. There was no other choice but to create the business. At the same time, the Constitution didn't allow us, and it still doesn't allow us, to hire other people. We do it now, and it's unconstitutional, but it's legal at the same time in Cuba. So it is a big problem. So you had no employees, and the only way you had to grow your business was to hire people from your own family. So you can imagine it was not a really easy thing to do. So Pepito, who is the founder of Artecorte, he's a small business owner, he's a hairdresser, but he's a brilliant mind. He's a community leader, a natural-born leader, and he wanted to change the situation in his neighborhood, the neighborhood where you saw the pictures before. So this neighborhood is located in Old Havana. It's a neighborhood that is called the Holy Angel neighborhood. It's a small neighborhood in the northern part of the city. And, oops. Oh. And there, inside his own house, he created his business. The beauty salon, the Artecorte beauty salon, that at the same time is the Barbers and Hairdressers Living Museum. It's a living museum because when he started, he had no other choice but to find old barber chairs to start the business. There was no supplies in Cuba, there was no way to find modern barber chairs or modern supplies, so he started with old supplies. But then he started collecting these old supplies, so he turned his house into a museum, now the Barbers and Hairdressers Living Museum. But soon he realized that there was no way for him to be successful if his neighborhood, you saw the pictures before, was not successful with him. So he started doing more than just owning a small business. He started transforming the community. He started the process to transform the public space, the spaces in the community. So he started by approaching to the office of the historian of the Havana city to authorize him to use a small place that was in his block to build a non-profit barber and hairdressers community school. A school intended for young adults from 17 to 21 years old, young adults who aren't studying and working, because our goal there is to take these kids off the street, teach them how to be barbers and hairdressers, and put them to work later. That's how he started with 10 students. Now we have 40 students every year in every class, and he started with 10 students. This was the first ever recorded public-private initiative, because the office of the historian of the Havana city is like a small government itself. It's part of the government structure, but they are really independent, so they are free to do these different ideas and experiments. So they created this experiment with us, so we became this first public-private initiative. We found barbers and hairdressers who were willing to teach for free. They volunteered their free time to teach in the school, and the students don't have to pay anything. They go there and they study for free. So throughout the years, we have been growing. Now we have a new program. It's a bartending program with the support from Havana Club. Havana Club is a mixed company owned by the French company Pernod Ricard and the Cuban company Cuba Rum. We got to meet some of the French directed from Pernod Ricard. They were interested into the social work we were doing in the community, the outreach work with young people in the community. So they were interested in to be part of what we were doing. So we created this free bartending class. Havana Club provides the alcohol we use for the classes, the bartending tools, the uniform for the students, and we provide the teachers who also volunteer. There are bartenders who volunteer their free time to teach at the school. At the same time, these students don't have to pay anything. They don't have to pay any money to study with us in our school. So we started creating more programs, different workshops and programs for kids and teenagers, programs related with soccer, painting, archaeology, different summer programs, capoeira, dance. We have a small community dance group, and we started finding people who wanted to join to our initiative and to be part of the work we're doing. Throughout the years, we got to the support from the Office of the Historian to the Havana City to take another place. There was an abandoned playground that was a big mess, and we took it and we, with their support, restored it. We turned it into the Barber Park, in English, the Barbers Park. It's a theme playground where we created jobs because the government provides for the salaries for the people who guard the playground day and night, and we have young people from the community working there. We have always a young barber working in a small salon that we built there, and we have a small cafeteria. These are independent business. We don't own this business, and we don't charge them any money. What we did with them, was to create a deal with them. So we found another person in the neighborhood who needed a job. So we gave them the opportunity to work cleaning, maintaining the playground. So these two business, the small barbershop and the cafeteria, they pay the salary of this person. So this is a way to connect people and to create jobs and to create benefits inside the community. At the same time, it's a center for cultural activities. Every Saturday morning, we hire a different clown every Saturday morning to perform for the kids in our community, and it's also for free. So we use it as a center for cultural activities for kids in our community. We also started working since 5 years ago with the seniors in the community. We have, as in many communities in Cuba, a local seniors center and a local seniors diner. These are places that are subsidized by the government. The seniors pay really a small amount of money to go into these places. They have different meals in these places, but they lack resources. They don't have enough resources to do what they should do. In the case of the senior center, for example, to create different activities throughout the week for all of the seniors. So we do this. We create different workshops and parties. Every Wednesday morning, we have a party at the senior center. We invite either a live band or recorded music to play for the seniors, and the seniors get to dance. Now, it's a place that people know in our community, even tourists come every Wednesday morning to dance with the seniors because they know it's on the street, it's free, and it's a way they have to lift up their mood. At the same time, we wanted to get all the people together in the community to work for the same purpose, the same goals. So we created 6 years ago now, we are getting ready. By the end of October, we have the 6th annual neighborhood management workshop, and this is a place where this is a space where we invite all of the community business owner, neighbors, religious leaders, everything who has a space for leadership in the community. We invite them over once a year to discuss what are our goals and how we can work together for the benefits of the community. At the same time, we use our public spaces for performance shows. We used to do this occasionally, but now we are doing it every Thursday afternoon. We have a concert with a band these are actually students from the university, undergraduate students who has this band as a hobby. So they are starting, and we gave them the space. We provide all of the audio equipment they need. We have all the audio, the microphones, we own all of that. So we provide the space and the resources for them to perform and to create their own space. We created literary circus, and this is a way we have to connect with culture in the community. We are right now building a monument to barbers and hairdressers. This is we call it a worldwide monument because we built this big scissor you can see over here. But to this big scissor, we're going to weld scissors from barbers and hairdressers from all over the world. We need at least 1,500 scissors according to our calculation. We are halfway there, and we are gathering scissors from all over the world, people who are going to Cuba and delivering them by hand. It's really hard to send through mail something to Cuba, but so this is a really slow process. So we are working on this to also promote our origin, that was the trade of barbers and hairdressers. We work to create different giving areas in the communities. We work once a year with a small veterinary clinic where we organize pets and dogs, cats. They could be stray or they could be pets, deworming, and we are also involved in a recycling project with the city historian. So how do we sustain all of this? We need resources, and we gather our resources mainly from our own community. First, we got to transform the space, so this attracted people who started investing in the community. They started to create their own business in the community. At the same time, we try for these people to hire local people. We want to create more jobs for local people, for people in our community, so we encourage them to hire local people, and we were even able to create our own tour product in our community. We offer guided tours throughout the community. We work with several tourist agencies. Actually, 90% of the people who visit our neighborhood are from the US. We have a lot of US visitors every month visiting us, and this is a way we have to collect resources to get incomes to support the work we're doing here. So, for you to have an idea about the transformation we have been able to make. Back in 1999, in our block, there was only one business, the Artecorte salon. Right now, in 2017, we have around 23 different businesses just in one block. This is really pretty big for Cuba. You can think in the US or capitalist countries standards, 23 businesses in just one block is a really big deal. And there we have around 100 and more than 100 people that are working in this new emerging private sector in just our block. We made some research in the community before I came here 5 months ago, and we found 133 business of rooms for rent, 34 business related to food services. This is in our community, 21 art galleries, and 6 other business. For a total of 194 private business created almost 1,000 jobs in the private business, just in this small community. There is not more than 2,000 people live in our community. So this is really great. Of course, not all of these jobs are for people in our community, but we are working increasingly to get more people to be hired, people from our community. So now our goals change from how we started. Our goals are to physically and socially transform our community, to promote channels for social participation, to help our neighbors to become more sensitive about the work of restoring and preserving our neighborhood, to improve the living conditions in our neighborhood, to train neighborhood youth in traditional trades and to provide jobs for them, to promote local entrepreneurial solidarity. This is really important for us. We don't think that this emerging private sector in Cuba should detach from society, should detach from their neighbors. We think that they have to give back and they have to help others who are in need. We are a really poor country, so if we get these people to be part of the community and take a personal initiative or group initiatives to help the community, our country is going to improve. We want to encourage public and private partnerships. This is really, really hard in Cuba, but we are working towards that. To be honest, none of our work would be possible if we were not in old Havana. No way. Because old Havana is controlled by the Office of the Historian of the Havana City. They are a really open-minded group. They have different ideas, different from what you usually see from the Cuban government. So there was no way we would be able to achieve any of this without their support. I want to make this really clear, and we want to encourage this to happen more across the country. We want to develop a culture of environmental protection. We want to guarantee generational integration and gender equality. We want to share our experience. That's what I'm doing here, to get more people to know about the world. Not here mostly, but especially in Cuba, for other people to learn about what we're doing and to get inspired to do the same. So that is summed up in our mission. There is to develop our community socially, culturally, and economically. So how we do this? We say that our model is pretty simple. What we do is we get the community, the local entrepreneurs, and the Office of the Historian of the Havana City to provide economic resources, knowledge, their hands or their time to create social, cultural, environmental, and economic benefits to go back to us. The problem in Cuba is that we have a centralized economy. Everything that any profits from any company goes back to a central government account, so there is no local development per se. They have been talking about changing this throughout the last years. They haven't done it yet, and we think that the success of our work is on this, onto creating local resources and to be able to invest these local resources into ourselves. So we were able to grow, but we were able to grow not working by ourselves, and this is something that I want to make pretty clear. We were able to grow because of alliances. First, we made an alliance with the community that helped us to grow. Then we made an alliance with the city historian of the Havana City. Then we made an alliance with the local government, the universities and research centers, and finally with public companies as Havana Club, other tourist companies, Havana Tour, different San Cristobal, different tourist companies in the country that are also bringing resources to the communities. And this is really important for us. Sometimes in Cuba, people who are not happy about the government situation, they think they have to detach from what is going on. We think that's not the way. We think that the way is to find a middle ground, to go, to approach to local authorities and try to work together, because there is no other way. There is no other way to move forward in Cuba if you don't try to do it through the right channels. It's just like that. It's not like the US or many other countries in the world where you can create different private initiatives and do it by yourself. In Cuba, the government is a really controlled government, so you need to learn this. Some of the ideas we have for the future is to create a local conservation award. There are many business owners who are restoring local buildings. We're talking about buildings that could be more than 200 years old. So we want to create a local conservation award for them. We want to create a neighborhood newsletter and a neighborhood museum to preserve the history of our neighborhood. So this is us. This is what I wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions, anything you would like to know about our work, about Cuba, anything, feel free to ask, okay? Thank you very much. Please.
To achieve your future goals, do you need any funding to do that, or do you already have that?
No, we have the fundings for these goals. We have the fundings right now. The problem in Cuba, sometimes it's not about the funding, it's about the government permits. For example, in Cuba we have a system that is called the local bodegas. The bodegas is a place where everybody can access to a certain amount of food at subsidized prices, okay? So we turn our local bodega into a museum for cash registers. We completely restore it. We spent more than 6 months restoring it. When we going to open it, the government came and said we couldn't do that. We had to remove everything. We had to dismantle the whole museum, and now we are waiting for a new permit because the person who gave us the permit is not there anymore. They changed the person. They don't find the permit. It's a really real mess. So sometimes bureaucracy is worse than the resources themselves, okay? Please, Dash.
Camilo, thank you very much. Really. I was really, interested in one of your last statements that you consider that the way you are doing things with this partnership with the government is the only way. I think there could be another ways also to do it, but I don't know. I just want to hear your opinion about projects like Espacio Mutinador from Sandra Ceballos, or a Cuban artist, Cuban independent artist, or Institute of Artivism, Hannah Arendt, run by Tania Bruguera, another independent artist. We all know that they are under a lot of pressure from the government, but anyway, to think that the work they do is really interesting and it's community focused, and it's focused maybe on future goals of changing the whole situation.
Yes.
What would be your stand, the stand of your organization?
Yeah,
of the change of the governmental landscape in Cuba?
My understanding is that these organizations that want to work completely independently in Cuba are leaping. They are having a lot of sorrow. I remember an anecdote from Tania Bruguera. She made a performance in her house. I think it was to read about the human rights, right?
To read Hannah Arendt, The Origins of Totalitarianism.
Oh yeah, to read that. So that day, the government had to repair the streets. So they broke down the whole street with jackhammers. Is that the word? Jackhammers. So there was no way to hear anything or to perform the activity. So as you can understand from this anecdote, even though these people are doing a good work, they are not moving forward fast enough because of these difficulties. Our approach is to move forward in spite of the difficulties. So we don't want to be seen as an opposition. We don't want to be seen as somebody who is against the interest they have. What we want is to work apolitically. We want to work for local development and not to encounter this type of difficulties that in the end won't help us, because all of these public spaces we use for our barbers and hairdressers school, our bartending class, our playground, we don't own these places. These are government places that were completely abandoned. The government weren't using them, and they just gave us the permit to use them. But they're not ours, so they could be taken back any day. So I don't think that going towards the Hill Mill, right, is going to help us to achieve our goals, that at the end are to develop our community. Do you have a question?
Oh yes, as you improve and develop the community, are you able to more influence the government? Like I don't think they elect people there, but get those jobs so that you can have a greater influence from within the government. Do your programs help in that regard?
Yes, in Cuba, that's unrealistic. There is no way to influence the government this way. What we can do is influence the people. We can influence the private sector, the emerging private sector, to understand that the mentality to move forward is for everybody, to help everybody, right? But we don't think we are able to influence the government. No. Please.
So where do most of funding money do your organization or similar organizations get? Are these from government sources only, or?
Okay, so first, let me make this clear. We are unique in Cuba. There is no other organization like us. As I said, it is impossible to do this outside all Havana. That's know about this, is Cuban. There is no way, because local governments are really close about working with private initiative. So first, it was all funded by Pepito himself with the proceeds from his business. He started doing it. As we started growing, I became part of Artecorte. I hold an MBA. I have a different mentality. I found other ways to fund it. First, through local business, helping us to support us. At the same time, we try to keep costs really low by getting a lot of volunteers. All of our teachers and most of the people who work with us are volunteers, so we keep our work costs really low. And at the same time, we created the guided tours throughout the communities, and with the guided tours, this is another way tourist agencies contribute to our work to have these guided tours. These guided tours are not performed by the tourist agencies. They bring the groups to us, but any of us, are the ones who actually, so they get to contact, to get in touch with the actual people who work with Artecorte and who work in the community, and we are the ones who provide the guided tours, and this is a way we have to get the incomes we have. We have no government grants or fundings or anything like that. We create our own fundings. We are independent, and we don't even, there are many other projects who get their fundings from international organizations, embassies, etc. We don't do that. We provide different services to get the incomes we need to provide our services. Okay? Please.
Yes, I would like to know if in Cuba students are allowed to drink alcohol, because you say that the Havana Club provides alcohol for students.
Yes, there are 18 to 28 years old students. They are legally able to drink. Legal age to drink in Cuba is when you are of age, that's 16 years old. That's a really great area. But we take the students that start on 18 years old, 18 to 28. Okay? Please.
What's the government's attitude towards civil society?
Sorry,
What's the government's attitude towards civil society?
Oh, that's really controversial, because I think that we started hearing and debating about civil society since the last maybe 5 to 7 years. Before that, that was not even a big issue. Just a small amount of people were thinking and debating about civil society, but it was not a widespread debate. Now, it's a more widespread debate, but the socialist system is not created to encourage civil society, and it's not created to encourage private initiative. Everything must be created by the government, for the people. So it's a different mentality. Of course, it's not the best mentality because it creates a lot of inefficiency, bureaucracy, it creates a lot of obstacles. So now more people are debating about civil society than, let's say, 7 years before, when there were just a small group of people or intellectuals talking about this. But anyway, there are not too much advances in this area, okay? Please.
So, you just want to describe the situation that was inside all these NGOs. So, do you think this might change, and what can be the change process? That it should be the top-down approach to change all this social structure currently existing, or it should be some bottom-up approach?
Well, we work bottom-up. We work bottom-up. We work from the grassroots, from the communities, to work on this. But at a national level, it's really hard. Now we have elections next year, where the president is going to change. We have for almost 50 years the same president, Fidel Castro. Then when he got sick, his brother took over power. Now they're going to perform different elections to get another president. The person who is supposed to be the candidate for the Communist Party, there is only one party in the country, the Communist Party. So the candidate is a vice president, current vice president. There was a leak like a month ago from a video where he was talking to members of the Communist parties, and he was talking about government policies and how they think. And many people think that this leak was made on purpose, because what you see on this leak is that there will be no change, that this person who is supposed to be the next president is going to do the things as we're doing it right now. So I think that it makes sense that they made that on purpose, to widespread the idea that they don't want to change the things as they are now. Since 2011, to be fair, when Raúl Castro took over power, he changed a lot of things. He was the one who almost created this emerging private sector, because we had an emerging private sector in the 90s, but it was really small. Now we have around 500,000 people in the private sector, and this was because of the changes he made starting in 2011. In 2011, he decided to change some laws. He created more opportunities for the private sector in Cuba. He removed a restriction to travel. Before 2011, you needed a permit from the government to leave the country, to travel abroad, even to visit the family, to do anything. You needed a permit from the government. So he removed this restriction, and also he removed the restriction to now you're able to buy, sell, and rent your house. So all of this has been contributed to the advance of this emerging private sector, but I can't say we can see big changes in the future. I just can't say that. Any other questions? Thank you, Dan. Thank you for coming.